Welcome back to the Yellow Rose Homestead. My name is Chris, and today I'm going to start a series on stress and how to deal with it. Let's get started. So why am I doing a video series on stress? I've noticed several of my friends, as well as other homesteaders that I follow on YouTube, are dealing with a lot of stress. And obviously, this time of year can be very stressful for people. So I decided I would pull from my experience of being the training director for several juvenile detention facilities. And one of the subjects I covered in my trainings was stress and stress management. I will be taking what I believe to be kind of a unique approach to these videos, and I hope you find them helpful. Alright, before we get into the meat and potatoes, if you will, of this video, in this video series, I should add a disclaimer. I am in no way, shape, or form a expert mental health professional or any other doctor or whatever experts in this field are. I am not one of them. What I am is an individual who worked in a very stressful field of juvenile detention and law enforcement, who has a lot of experience dealing with high stress situations. I will be drawing upon that information I've been taught by mental health professionals, and maybe even some personal experience if it fits the situation. Again, I hope you find this video helpful and you enjoy the subject matter at hand. Okay, to get started, I guess we should define what stress is for the purpose of this video series. Stress is simply an emotional response to an external stimuli. In other words, something has happened around you, causing you to have an emotional reaction to it. And let's be honest with ourselves, in most cases, our reaction is typically negative in nature. We become angry, depressed, any other derogatory term you can think of. That tends to be our response to that stimuli. And then we always tend to view stress as a negative thing. But stress is not necessarily a negative thing. Stress can be motivational. Stress can cause us to work harder at something. All right, now we have our basic definition of stress. And we know that stress is an emotional response. Let's take a look at emotions themselves. What are emotions? If you break it down to its most simplest explanation, our emotions, regardless of what they are, our emotions are a warning sign. That's all emotions really are. Our emotions tell us when we need to pay attention to something, whether that be the emotion of love. That emotion is telling you, hey, you need to stop what you're doing and pay attention to this individual or this situation or whatever it is you're falling in love with. Right? It could even be an inanimate object, doesn't matter. When you are feeling that emotion of love, it says, hey, stop what you're doing and pay attention to this. Pay attention to this individual. There's something special here, and you need to pay attention to it. And that holds true for when you have that emotional response of being angry. That emotion is telling you to stop and pay attention to what's going on. Because you need to do something about this. Right? So if we keep that in mind, that emotions are simply a warning sign or a warning signal saying that you need to pay closer attention to something, we can take control of whatever that is much easier. That is the first step in any stress management, is recognizing that you have to pay attention to something else, and that comes from our emotional response. Okay, so now we know the basic definition of what stress is, and we also know what the reason for our emotions are. Now let's take those two things and put them together and start talking about the stress cycle. What happens when we experience that situation that starts to cause us stress? So we have a situation that occurs, and the next thing that happens to us is we have that emotional response. Whether we view it as good or positive or negative, it doesn't matter. We have that emotional response. From that emotional response, several things happen with our body, and we'll get into that later. So we will choose a response to that stressful situation. Most often than not, we choose a response that has worked for us in the past. And we'll discuss that again further later on in this video series. So we've chosen what we're going to do about the situation, and we place that choice into action. Most often, we tend to choose the wrong response. What does that do? That makes the stressful situation more stressful. And we start experiencing stronger emotions and then we start to choose more drastic responses, and again we put them into play, and again the situation becomes more stressful and more stressful. So you start to see the cycle, and it is our responsibility, your responsibility, again it is your responsibility to stop that stress cycle. It is not your spouse's, it is not your girlfriend or boyfriend, it's not your dog's, it's your responsibility to stop that stress cycle. The rest of this series we'll get into how we can stop those stress cycles. I will close with this, that if we recognize those emotions for what they are, warning signals, and we deal with them at that point, and with that mindset, it's a warning signal that we need to pay attention to something, we can start taking control of that stressful situation. We can start taking control of our lives better. We can also use that to assist others when we can see that they're having an emotional response to something, and we can help them throughout or with their situation. I hope that you found this first part of this video helpful, or this video series helpful, excuse me, and that you'll come back for part 2. In part 2, we will take a look at a crisis management process that we can follow, and hopefully give you some tools to deal with your stress. Thanks for watching. Please comment below if this has been helpful to you at all. Let me know what you think of this series, and please be honest. Again, please like, subscribe, share if you wish. I know this video has been a little different than my usual videos. It's been a little bit more of a serious tone. As you know, most of our videos, me and Stacy tend to have a good time with them and tend to joke around. But unfortunately, this subject matter is not conducive to that. And again, thanks for watching.